with Jennifer Jones Austin. You worked with our sister Loree Daniel Favors to put some ballot initiatives on the ballot in New York last election cycle, which I thought was really great. I know Loree was very involved in the census because it was about resources. We've talked with you about
Hmm.
that as well. There are ways in which we can impact our community in uh, organize around issues. That's how stuff gets done, right? Voting, as Eljoy
Absolutely.
Williams would say, is like maybe step 8 on a 10-step plan, our Sunday civics teacher. So as we're looking at this very real possibility that people are going to sit out, a lot of people are going to sit out, and the Democratic Party can't survive if black people sit home. If 20% of us sit home, they lose. I'm hearing that number and probably more.
Yeah.
So how can we organize? So I was talking with Loree about, probably putting together kind of like a 10-year, 50-year, like a manifesto, like Project 2025 of things that need to get done over the next 10, 20, 50 years that will guarantee the next generation and those after
Mhm.
will have rights and things, even if we aren't here to see it, and
Right.
things like that.
So it is the agenda setting, but I will tell you that I think our greatest challenge as a people is the follow through. We are, whether it was, do you remember several years ago when I believe it was Tavis Smiley and someone else, they did that kind of like the Black Covenant with America or something like
Yep,
that, and
the
he put a
covenant.
book out around that.
Right.
Right,
Hmm.
the covenant. And then we have had like the National Urban League, advance a plan for what needs to happen around economic equity. You've got we've had all of these 10-point, 20-point plans and
Okay,
the like.
I'm gonna put a church finger up, uh, and I'm gonna say some things. I'm gonna put a church finger up and say some things. Um, I don't know these people personally. I just know what I see. I've been watching. The follow through, planning is one thing. When I think about planning, I think about Ella Baker and Bayard Rustin and A. Philip
Hmm.
Randolph and Mary
Hmm.
McLeod Bethune. The planning doesn't. You don't need to put a book out when you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's commerce. Wells Fargo. That's commerce. That's personal commerce. I go back to Randall Robinson, who had a plan. But if you have a plan and can't implement the plan and can't put the people in the room to implement the plan, because that was the power of a Philip Randolph and Dorothy Porter Wesley, who's not a household
That's
name,
right.
is
That's right.
being able to put the people in the room that are you stop fighting with this one because y'all both on the
That's
same
right.
team.
That's
Even if
right.
y'all here, both of you, here's some fame for both of you. Are you happy? Okay, we
Right.
got to get this stuff done. Like, stop all of this.
Well, part of it is you got to find people who are less self-interested and more, like social society advancement, inclined. So, as an example for you, you mentioned Loree. When then Mayor De Blasio approached me about chairing the New York City Racial Justice Commission, I immediately went to and looked for those people who I knew were about getting something done, not just talking the talk. And Larry was one of them. Brother by the name of Derek Hamilton, a national economist. He was another. People who I knew had not just put forth ideas or patted themselves on the back for having a thought, but people who are actually trying to get things done. You surround yourself with those people. Very recently, I heard somebody say this, and I'm never going to lose it. They said, always think about it this way: A people surround themselves with A people, B people surround themselves with C people.
Oh,
So if you, right? That's good. That's good. So I'm going to consider myself an A person, and I'm going to go get the A people to help me get something done. So, like right now, one of the things that came out of the racial justice work that was informed by some work that my organization was able to do a couple of years before was the importance of not, looking at just people living in poverty, but what it means for people to live with dignity throughout America and how much that costs. So we advanced the true cost of living measure, got it passed at the city. Well, the Biden administration should be, like have a true cost of living measure. It's not a congressionally legislated administrative guideline. He can do it. So what did I do? I went and found people who have the resources and the tools to help me do it. and several of them brothers. And with them at the table, we're getting conversations with key leaders in the Biden administration. It's not that I know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm surrounded myself with people who do. It's the follow through and where we often fall short, even when it comes to our voting. We just put somebody in there and we go about our business. We don't hold them accountable. Follow through.
That's it. That's it. That's it. So can we have a plan for that? So I feel like we vote. Like I got my ballot a few weeks ago. I'm researching the people before I vote. Half the people I don't know. Some people I know, but I want to know what their voting record is and this and that. So I'm going to vote. But what does accountability look like? Like, and if it's not a collective accountability, so I'm thinking right now, everyone who lives somewhere lives somewhere. Where are
Mhm.
our communities? And I was talking with my team yesterday about maybe building this kind of infrastructure inside of Nubia, like I have right now, my Karen Hunter show chat. Okay, maybe there can be a Virginia action chat where everybody who lives in Virginia, because that's right now a really important state, and all the legislative positions are open, and so we need people to vote in Virginia big time because if they have a trifecta there, forget about it. But if you live in Virginia, first of all, you need to know everybody who's there, like minded. But also now, what are the three things we want to get accomplished over the next 2 years, the
Right.
next 4 years, the next 8 years, the next 10 years, and then every day y'all convene inside this chat to talk about who's running, why, blah 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 blah, so that there can be a more pointed way in which we can activate because it starts local, right? So
So let me say that I think that we have two great examples. There are several examples, but two that are easily understood. One is the census work that you spoke about. I did some work. That's how when I actually first met Loree and then got to know her a little better when she was coming on your show. But we both were engaged in census work, and what we were doing was trying to raise awareness in communities throughout New York City about the census itself. What is the significance of it? It's not that the government is just trying to gain information about you to use against you, but it's the information, you being counted, then informs, like how many people in that community and how much money should go to everything from Head Start allocations to infrastructure supports around building bridges and the like. We needed people to know that. If you could not just go tell them to complete the census, you had to do awareness raising. Operation Breadbasket, which was the economic justice arm of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference that was headed by Martin Luther King Jr. The purpose of Operation Breadbasket was to center on economic inequity and economic injustice. And the way that the Operation Breadbasket operated in Chicago in the main and in New York City in the main was to essentially hold every week rallies at faith-based institutions where the leaders in the community were charged with helping you to understand what this injustice looked like, what the game plan, what the plan of action was. They used data, they came up with a set of demands, and then they told people, okay, now we're going to organize, we're going to mobilize, and they galvanized people, and they went. And they went with the mandate, and they were relentless with it. And they
what
secured
happened?
the advancements. They
What
got
happened
the
to that?
advancements.
No, but what happened to this? What happened to these people? Where'd they
I
go?
think a lot. I think a lot of them went. I'm just gonna call it a lot of them. A lot of our leaders then started looking at corporate America and
Happened.
opportunity in corporate America.
Oh, the
People
coin.
started seeing, yeah, people started seeing like like the, for lack of a better way, like the golden handcuffs. If I can now with affirmative action, civil rights, if I can now go over in there,
Oh,
that job that I couldn't get in before, now I go in there, I get that opportunity, I make a little bit more money than maybe the government's paying me. And you know what? But now I can't really go to that Saturday morning rally because
right,
what if somebody sees me there?
right.
What if they report back to my company that yeah, that's part of it, I think.
Let me ask you, and everyone, and Jennifer Jones Austin, how do you change your made up mind? Someone in their soul believes with every fiber of their being that voting for Joe Biden is a wrong thing to do. I don't think anything that Timothy, and I appreciate that you put some thought and time and research into, call it up. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of the call. But as I was listening to that caller earlier, talk about her
Mm-hmm.
mom, I I couldn't tell her she was wrong. And I there was no set of data or facts, because they're facts. I could have bombarded her with, this is what the statistics tell us when we don't show up. This is what, nothing was going to change her mind. What do we do
Right.
with that? Do we just, what do we do with that?
So I can't agree with you more. You got to remember that you're not going to change every individual's mind. So then you got to make this calculus of, okay, well, let me go on to the next person. You get to this point in life when you realize, look, I've been married for 30 years.
30?
And
God bless you. Wow.
yeah.
Congratulations. Yes. I love it. Okay.
Ooh, look, my daddy used to say when people would ask him if I was going into politics, he'd say, I don't think so, because she'll know how to compromise. I'm like, Daddy, if you were here, this has been 30 plus years of compromise. But the
That ain't
reason I
nothing
bring
but a
it up,
marriage. You better say it. Yes.
but the reason I bring it up is because there are certain things that I know. Like no matter, like it ain't gonna be next year, or the year after, that he and I are gonna see eye to eye on. We're always gonna be at an impasse on certain issues. And so you know what? I'm not gonna spend any more time there. It ain't worth it. I'll go find no, I'll go find somebody else to work on that issue with. Now, I'm not talking about somebody else to go live life with, but I'm talking. But you get what I'm saying? Like
I
you're
do.
not gonna flip everybody, and you have to allow people to be okay with their truth,
Right.
and some people gonna live in their trauma, and that you may not want them to, but you just go on and you find who's the person who's maybe mine. You can help them to see
Right.
that
Right.
that this is nuanced.
And not and not quit, right? So I
Right.
had
Right.
a couple of months of like super frustration once I realized what's about to happen. Cause it hits me. Like I be seeing things. And I was like, this is gonna happen. So
Yeah.
and I'm like, what can I do to make it, and I'm like, I'm here every day and I'm yelling and screaming, let me bring on more people. And then I was like, you know what? I'm now at the, with those stages of grief. I'm at the stage where it's like, okay, this is nothing I can do other than to continue to do it.
So when I went, and I may have mentioned this to you before, when I went, just happened to be, it just worked out. I was in the audience when Coco Golf won. I don't know if I told you this. Maybe I did. So when she won the U.S. Open, I was there. Literally got up that morning, grabbed a ticket, went to see her play. And after she won, she was asked by the news, the commentator, whatever. Um, I saw you praying, Coco. Were you praying to win? And this young lady said, No, I don't pray for results. She said, I pray that every time I get out here, I do what I am capable of doing and I give it my best. And when she said that, I actually thought of what it means to give it your all, and is that a measure of success? And I thought about the preacher being a Black Baptist, third generation or fourth generation, if you will. I thought about how the preacher is the assignment is to preach a sermon and preach the gospel, pure and free. And yes, you are to win souls over to Christ, the preacher. But if that preacher gets up and preaches to the best of that person's ability, does what they've been told to do, has that person failed if nobody joins the church? Is that person not to get up and try again the next Sunday? No, because if you've been called and purposed to do a certain thing, you just get out there and you do it to the best of your ability. And if you do that, it may not always be a win, but personally, you will have succeeded because you will have done the work that you were called to do.
Shay. And the other thing that I realized is that we do what we do not for right now. You do what you do, but not for right now. This is not a right
I
now
love it.
journey. That life is not a right now life. The
I love
consequences,
it.
those of us who are living a life, the sum total of your life, things that you did in your 20s, are impacting you now. Things you did in the decisions you made in your 30s are impacting you now. Like this is not a right now situation. And
Oh,
a few months from now, 2024, the work needs to be done right now, and this is kind of like what the
yeah,
challenge is, which is why I'm like, okay, what is the response to the project 2025? Let's start. I mean, we don't even need to start because there have been many iterations. You brought up Tavis Smiley. Before him, it was Randall Robinson. Before that, it was W.B. Du
mm-hmm.
Bois. Before that, I mean, it's like there have been
Absolutely.
people with the plan of what we needed. But Nanny Helen Burroughs had 10 things a Negro must do. Like there have been plans
We
and
got it.
visions. We can just erect them, remind people, put it in one document, add to it, have it as a download, build community so that
That's
a
right.
hundred years from now, we're not sitting here talking about voting rights and racism, that we can be talking about there'll be other things to talk about. We're going to fight about other
And the
dumb.
only thing that I'll add to that is that what I have come to believe wholeheartedly, and you read God in the Ghetto, so you know part of where this is coming from, and Martin Luther King Jr. with the Operation Breadbasket, economic justice felt the same. What we have to remember is that at the end of the day, racism is actually not the end in itself. It is the means to an end. That racism, and I'm going to add to that, sexism and misogyny, were determined to be the tools to uphold unjust economic systems, to uphold economic inequity. And so you've got to be mindful that when you're engaged in this fight against racism or misogyny or whatever it is, that your real aim is to disrupt this inequitable economic structure. Because they got us thinking that's what happened with civil rights in part, right? That's what happened with you just get the vote, you're gonna be okay. We end racism, at least it looks like it. We ended racism and voting. No, no, because the structure was still in place, right? You might vote, but we're gonna do some gerrymandering here. You might vote, but we're gonna diminish the value of the strength of your vote. All of that. We're gonna make sure that people are disenfranchised. So even if you got as Black people, you can now vote as a people. If we incarcerate more of you and we take away your vote, because the racism is not the end in and of itself.
Which makes it so hard to fight because the folk that are even participating in it don't think that they are. So, you can't convince them otherwise, so it's like, oh my goodness, but we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep working. Something's going to click and it's going to be enough. It's going to be a critical mass at some point. I believe that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one who loves things is the one